What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking About Baseball. Today is day 3 of the 12 Days of Christmas rankings, and today I will be ranking every single catcher in Major League Baseball. So let's get started with number 31. But before we start with number 31, I will just say that if you have not watched the first two videos, you should go watch them right before this. And also, this series is fully credited to Giraffe Neck Mark, the originator of the series. Starting off at number 31 is Pirates catcher Jason DeLay. He is replacing Endy Rodriguez on this list after Endy Rodriguez went down with a most likely season-ending ACL tear. Jason DeLay is not an impressive catcher to me whatsoever. He's really not good at anything whatsoever and should probably be a backup and maybe not even in the major leagues at all. But on a Pirates team that doesn't really have a at, he is their current catcher and he's ranked at number 31. It could also be argued that this could be Henry Davis, but currently it seems like the Pirates are pretty adamant at putting Davis in the outfield. At number 30, I have White Sox catcher Max Stassi. Stassi's been a career below-average hitter. He's been a really good defender throughout his entire career, but unfortunately that can't really help you when you're a career .220 hitter. Max Stassi's just really not that good at all, and he's not going to be helping out a White Sox team that's already terrible. At number 29, I have Rays catcher Rene Pinto. Rene Pinto, in my opinion, is just not really great at anything. He replaced Christian Bethancourt mid-season last year and really just wasn't all that great for the whole season. I think that he could get better as he really hasn't played in the majors all that much so far, but I haven't really seen all that much out of him so far. That's why he's at number 29. At number 28, I have Guardians catcher Bo Naylor. He looked really solid last year for the Guardians, paired up with his brother Josh Naylor, especially in the last few months of the season. I think that Bo Naylor could actually be a future all-star for this Guardians team and would bring a lot of lineup support to a lineup that currently really only has Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor, who, according to many sources, is likely to be traded. Bo Naylor, I think, is one of the best up-and-coming players on that roster and will really help them in the future. At number 27, I have the Red Sox Connor Wong. He showed flashes of being really good last year, but overall he just wasn't that great. He's definitely more of a hitting-oriented catcher, and I think if he can unlock that hitting, mainly power, more, I think that he could definitely move up on this list, but currently he's going to be at number 27. At number 26 is a Red Sox rival, and that's Austin Wells. Austin Wells got called up with Jason Dominguez in the last month of the season for the Yankees, and after hitting pretty well, he has been given the starting catcher job over Jose Trevino for next year. Austin Wells pretty much fixed Anthony Volpe, if you've never heard that story, and also, he's a great hitter himself, and him and Volpe, and of course others like Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, are going to be large cornerstones of this Yankees offense for years to come. At number 25, I have Angels catcher Logan O'Hoppe. He was looking like he could potentially be on an all-star pace to start last season, but a torn labrum pretty much ended his whole season until about the last month of the year. But in that time he was playing at the beginning, he looked really good. At the end of the season, he wasn't quite as good, obviously coming back from his big injury, but I do think that Logan O'Hoppe, just like Bo Naylor, who I just mentioned, could be one of the best young catchers in the league for the next few years and be one of the best hitters on this Angels team, as they're looking like they're going through a rebuild. At number 24, I have the Padres' Luis Campusano, one of the worst defensive starting catchers in the league right now. His hitting, if he can truly figure it out, could make him one of the best hitting catchers in the whole league. He's always been great in the minors and a highly touted prospect. In the majors, he hasn't really been able to figure it out. But last year with the Padres, he looked really solid in the games he played, and I think that this year will be his breakout season and he will perform much better. At number 23, I have Jake Rogers of the Tigers. He's coming off of his best season of his career. He was pretty much a perennial backup catcher for the Tigers, but he was given the starter role last year and he did not disappoint. Jake Rogers, I think, could be much better on this list, but I've only seen him do very well once, and I think that he will help propel this Tigers team to a really solid season in 2024. At number 22, I have Athletics catcher Shea Langeliers. He's pretty much the only good hitter on this offense, and that gives him no lineup protection because the Athletics are just absolute garbage. I think that he can be really good in the future, even if he's maybe not playing catcher because he's not really the greatest defensively, but offensively, that's where he shines, and I think that he maybe could even be the Athletics All-Star next year, as they unfortunately do need one. At number 21, I have Marlins catcher Nick Fortes. The Marlins are rumored to be trying to get a new catcher, but currently it is Nick Fortes, and I don't really think he's the worst guy ever, but he's definitely not the best. The last few years it's been between him and Jacob Stallings, and it has not gone very well for either of them, but I do think that Nick Fortes is the better catcher overall. He's, once again, not really great at anything, just kind of average overall, and I think that he could be a fine player in Major League Baseball, but I don't really know if he would be a great starting catcher. At number 20, I have Tyler Stevenson. He's coming off of 2 rough seasons in a row now. Concussions have been a big part of his thing for the last 2 years, but I do think that he'll be able to rebound in the years to come on a Reds team that is now looking like they could be playoff bound in the NL Central, and I think that he will be a big part of that on the young team. Includes guys like Elly De La Cruz, Matt McLain, and TJ Friedl. At number 19, I have Chicago Cubs catcher Yan Gomes. He's coming off of one of the best seasons in his late career, as he's now 36 years old and just came off of a great season. He hit in the high 200s batting average-wise and is a really good defensive catcher for a younger Chicago Cubs pitching staff. I think that Yan Gomes is a really just solid catcher to have, even though he is an older guy for the Cubs. I think that he will be able to help their pitching staff a lot, as he has done the last year. At number 18, I have Royals catcher Freddie Fermin. Salvador Perez is pretty much more of their DH now, and Freddie Fermin, when he was playing catcher last year, looked amazing. He's more of a defensive specialist, but he can also swing the bat a little bit. He's one of the best defensive catchers in the game, not only framing-wise, but just overall a defensive freak behind the plate. And I do think if he can develop his bat more, he could be one of the best catchers in the league on a Royals team that is apparently trying to do very good now with the signings of Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo. At number 17, I have Rockies catcher Elias Diaz. This might be kind of high for him, but I still have high hopes, as if he can keep up his season that he had in the first half last year for a whole season, he will be a really good catcher. The problem is, the second half last year, he was absolutely terrible after not only making the All-Star game, but winning All-Star game MVP with a go-ahead home run for the NL. I think that Elias Diaz could be a really good catcher, and the Coors effect probably plays into him hitting better, but I think that he's kind of overlooked in the league, and he's shown flashes of being very well, just hasn't put it together for a full season yet. At number 16, I have Nationals catcher Keibert Ruiz. After getting a huge extension before last year, he's played pretty much the same way he always has. Pretty solid on defense and above average on offense. Keibert Ruiz is still developing and he's still very young, and I think that in the future he can be a top 10 catcher in the league, but right now he hasn't really shown a breakout season where he just hits really solid, and that's why he's still below the top 15 at 16. At number 15, I have Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers. Jeffers took over the role from Christian Vazquez, as he's obviously the better catcher. Jeffers absolutely mashes left-handed pitching, but the problem is most of the pitchers are right-handed, and he has improved against right-handed pitchers a lot in the last few years, and that's why he's now the Minnesota Twins catcher. The Minnesota Twins kind of look like they're on the downfall after winning their division last year and winning their first postseason series in over 20 years. They've already lost a key player in Sonny Gray, and guys like Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa have been dealing with bad play and injuries. But I think that Ryan Jeffers can still be a really solid hitter in this lineup and potentially lead them to another playoff berth in 2024. At number 14, I have free agent catcher and newly World Series winner Mitch Garver. He's a former Twins catcher, unlike Ryan Jeffers, who's still on the team. Mitch Garver was really good for the Twins in 2019 and helped them break the MLB home run record, which the Braves just broke this year. But Mitch Garver, since 2019, Mitch Garver has looked absolutely horrible at the plate, but after getting traded to the Rangers, this year he really figured it out. He was their DH for most of the postseason, but I do think he could still go to a team like the Marlins, who I mentioned are looking for a catcher, and play catcher for them. Mitch Garver is a really solid bat to have in your lineup, and I think that with the playoff experience he has with the 2019 Twins and obviously just now winning the World Series, I think that would be really valuable to bring to a team along with his absolutely outstanding bat behind the dish. At 13, I have Astros catcher Yainer Diaz. He has pretty much no defensive skill whatsoever, completely unlike Martin Maldonado, who is their former catcher, but Yainer Diaz can absolutely crush baseballs. he is one of the best offensive hitters in the game at the catcher position. He's just not really all that great on defense, and that is a concern for the Astros, I think, because Martin Maldonado was one of the best game managers in all of the league last year, and now that they don't have a very good defensive catcher, I think pitchers on the Astros could do much worse, and that includes guys like Framber Valdez and the rest of the Astros pitching staff. At number 12, I have Diamondbacks catcher Gabriel Moreno. He broke out last year, only his second professional year, after getting traded for Dalton Varsho before last offseason. The Diamondbacks went all the way to the World Series to the surprise of pretty much every single person that is a baseball fan, but I think that they still have room to grow, and Gabriel Moreno, being one of the best young catchers in the league, it can still get even better, and he's already getting better. In the playoffs last year, he looked really solid, and I think he can continue to build on that. He broke a postseason record, being the fourth home run of the first time that a team hit 4 home runs in a row in the postseason. I think that the Diamondbacks will continue to grow and maybe even win their division, although the powerhouse Dodgers are most likely going to stop them now that they've even added Shohei Ohtani and Tyler Glasnow. At number 11, I have Mets catcher Francisco Alvarez. He's similar to Yainer Diaz, but he's not quite bad defensively and definitely slightly better offensively. He's another guy who just absolutely mashes at the plate, but his defensive ability is definitely below average. I think that Francisco Alvarez, once again, I just compared him to Yainer Diaz, can be one of the best offensive catchers in the league, and the best thing is, last year was only his rookie season. He will be one of the best hitters in this Mets lineup, along with Pete Alonso, if he stays on the team. To begin our top 5, I have Alejandro Kirk of the Blue Jays. He's coming off of a down season, but in 2022, he was absolutely outstanding, and I think that he'll find a middle ground between last year and 2022, his All-Star season, and just be a really good above-average catcher for the next few years for the Blue Jays. His big thing in 2022 that he was more of an offense-first guy and his defense was terrible, but he kind of changed that around. His defense was much better in 2023, but his hitting kind of declined because of that. I think he'll kind of find a middle ground between the two and still be an easy top 10 catcher and on this list. At number 9, I have Mariners catcher Kyle Raleigh. He looked really solid the last 2 years. He absolutely mashes balls, and he looked really solid leading the Mariners to a 2022 playoff push. Unfortunately, they did not make it in 2023, but I think in 2024, I think that's the Mariners' year. As their young core with him and J-Rod continues to progress, I think that he's going to be a big part of this Mariners team, and his defense looked much better last year. At number 8, I have Giants catcher Patrick Bailey. He looked really solid for the Giants last year, one of, if not the best defensive catcher in the league, and he definitely brings a little bit to the table on the offensive side, being slightly above average in my opinion. But like I said, he is probably the best defensive catcher in the league. He has one of the best arms from behind the plate, throwing out a lot of the runners and getting up. And he's also a great framer for the Giants, and I think that'll be really important as the Giants are kind of an up-and-coming team, as they haven't really been good, and they just spent big on getting Jung-Hoo Lee. At number 7, I have Wilson Contreras of the Cardinals. He just signed a big contract with them before last year, and he really wasn't great all year, but the last 2 months of the season he was outstanding, and that kind of carried his stats up a lot. Defensively, he was really bad, even getting relegated to DH, but by the end of the season, he was back to catcher, and now that he has a much better pitching staff, I think that'll kind of help him out defensively. Now that the Cardinals have added many veterans like Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, and of course their big-ticket item, Sonny Gray. At number 6, I have his brother, William Contreras, who pretty much overall just brings a lot more to the table offensively. He is worse defensively than his brother, but William Contreras is one of the best hitters in the league, and he's going to be one of the best bats on this Brewers team. The Brewers are currently looking like they're going to go through a rebuilding or retooling stage, and I think currently he is the third best hitter on the team behind Willy Adames and Christian Yelich, but I think they are going to trade one of those, if not both of them, and that he will be one of the best hitters in this lineup and continue to hit in the core of it. Beginning the top 5, I have Rangers catcher Jonah Heim. He has had 2 really good seasons now, and I think that he has proved himself to be one of the best catchers in the league. He went down with an injury mid-season last year, and I think that really showed the Rangers how valuable he is to them, because while he was injured, injured, the Rangers did not play nearly as good, even with backup Mitch Garver being the catcher. I think that Jonah Heim, obviously, that's why I have him ranked at number 5, is one of the best hitters in the league, and overall just a great catcher. He showed that he's one of the best defensive players in the league at catcher, and that he can also bring a lot to the table with his bat, and that's why I have him ranked so high at number 5. At number 4, I have Braves catcher Sean Murphy. He's been really good all of the years leading up to this year with the Athletics, but this year was his true breakout season. He was absolutely outstanding, except for the last few months of the season where he kind of fell off at the end. But if he could take his first 3 months or so and bring them into a full season, he might be able to find himself at the number 1 spot in this list. I think that 4 maybe could be too low for him, and he could be at 3, but I don't think he goes above that. And I think that Sean Murphy is one of the big hitters in this Braves lineup, although who in the Braves lineup really isn't a big hitter? At number 3, I have JT Realmuto of the Phillies. He's been the consensus number 1 catcher for quite a few years now, but after a few seasons where he's proved that he's definitely kind of declining slightly, I do have him at number 3. He's still one of the best defenders in the league and still the fastest catcher in the league, which he's very fast, and it's impressive to see that from the catcher position. But his bat is also still absolutely outstanding, and that's why he is still in the top 3 at number 3. At number 2, I have Orioles catcher Adley Rutschman. It could be argued that he should be at number 1, but after only playing for a year and a half, I will have him at number 2. I think Adley is probably a future MVP winner and is obviously the star of this Orioles team. I think that Adley Rutschman could easily lead the Orioles to a World Series in the years to come if they are able to retain him, because it seems like the Orioles cheapskates are not really super big on the idea of keeping him and Gunnar Henderson around. Adley Rutschman will be the best catcher in the league, and probably just next year, but after, like I said, only playing a year and a half in the league, I'm going to put him at number 2, and he will be behind number 1, and that is Will Smith of the Dodgers. Will Smith has been one of the best hitters in the league. He's not the relief pitcher. He's not the guy who slapped the guy. It is Will Smith, the catcher for the Dodgers, and he is absolutely outstanding, the best hitting catcher in the league, that's why he's this high, and also very solid defensively. I think that Will Smith is going to be a big part of this Dodgers lineup that mainly includes him, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and now, of course, Shohei Ohtani. That is probably the best big four on any MLB lineup of all time, and Will Smith might be the worst hitter of the 4 of them, but he's also a catcher, and you don't really assume that they have a lot of offensive product, but Will Smith definitely does. Anyway, that is the end of my catchers rankings. This was day 3 of the 12 Days of Christmas rankings, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 4. Bye.